Very good evening to you, dear viewers. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Business Insider. I'm your host for tonight, Mohammed Abdurrahim. And tonight we'll be talking about how to best use artificial intelligence, AI, to improve the investment environment. How to use AI to attract more foreign direct investments. And how can AI boost economic performance in general. And we'll be doing this in the company of our dear distinguished guest, Dr. Nevine Makram Labib, and she is the chair of the Computer Systems and Information Technology Department at the Sadat Academy. A very good evening to you, Dr. Nevine. It's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being with us. Allow us, as always, Dr. Nevine and dear viewers, first to watch a report about our main topic for tonight, and then we'll come back and start our discussion. Please stay with us.
Egypt stands at a pivotal moment to invest in the artificial intelligence sector to enhance its economic growth and social progress. The ambition declared in the national vision is to effectively integrate artificial intelligence across various sectors, enabling qualitative leaps in sustainable development paths. The desired goal, according to the National Strategy for Artificial Intelligence, is to raise the contribution of artificial intelligence to more than $42.7 billion in the GDP by 2030, equivalent to 7.7% of the GDP by 2030. It's noteworthy at the general level that the digital infrastructure in Egypt is witnessing rapid developments with digital transformation initiatives in the government sector and increasing financial inclusion among the population, as 56% of adults in Egypt now have a bank account, and cash wallet accounts are expected to reach 57.9 million. By 2025, this digital readiness paves the fertile ground for AI integration across multiple sectors. The Egyptian government, in partnership with the global technology giants, is adopting strategic paths to develop digital infrastructure and digital transformation and provide a conducive environment for artificial intelligence applications. These partnerships can open broad horizons for artificial intelligence applications that promise to revolutionize vital sectors such as healthcare, education, agriculture, tourism, and financial services, enhance the efficiency of services, and provide innovative solutions to contemporary challenges. For example, in the health sector, the artificial intelligence can bring about revolutionary developments in diagnosis, treatment, and drug development methods, improving patient outcomes and healthcare delivery. Artificial intelligence-powered education tools can also improve learning experiences, adapt education to individual students' needs, and home students with the required skills. In agriculture, artificial intelligence technologies can increase agricultural yields, improve resource use, enhance the efficiency of supply chains, and strengthen food security and agricultural productivity. In the tourism sector, artificial intelligence can improve tourists' experiences through personalized recommendations, virtual assistance, improved service delivery, and improved tourism revenues. The use of artificial intelligence in financial services would contribute to combating fraud, improving banking services, simplifying financial operations, and achieving broader financial inclusion and greater efficiency.
Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching Business Insider. We're talking about the role of AI in improving the investment environment and in boosting economic growth at large. And we are in the company of Dr. Nevine Makram Labib, the chair of the Computer and Information Systems Department, Sadat Academy. Dr. Nevine, how can AI improve the environment of investment?
Okay, as always, we're relying on the predictive analytics. So AI here has a very powerful tool. It can provide us with many patterns and with many predictions that are very useful for the decision takers and decision makers. Because nowadays we're talking worldwide about the data-driven decision making. So in order to be able to take a suitable decision, especially when we're talking about investment. So it's not only related to internal factors, but it's always related to external, more than the internal factors. So we should be able to gather good data, whether internal or external, and actually both, and to make use of the artificial intelligence as techniques, like for example making use of machine learning in order to be able to provide good predictions for those who are taking the decision, helping them in such a very competitive and challenging area.
Right. And Dr. Nevine, when we try to predict, do we just use the data that we have, or do we have to analyze the data that we have? And if it's analysis, is this what's called quantum leap, I think, or?
Okay.
And not AI? We always hear about the difference between the AI and the quantum.
Let's clarify the difference here. Actually, when you talk about data, we're talking here about analytics, not analysis. So we're talking about deep analysis using some advanced techniques and tools, if I may say. But most importantly here, we have to talk about the data pre-processing. So it's not only about gathering data. Now we have to gather data, and then we have to make sure that these data are valid. Because as we always tell our students, that garbage in, garbage out. If we feed the system with bad data, with noisy data, as we always say, then you will end up having definitely some wrong patterns and wrong predictions that will be misleading for the decision takers. So we need first of all to be able to identify the required data. What do we need to know? And then we have to decide the sources. These have to be formal, legal and ethical sources, whether we're talking about internal data or gathering some external data, maybe talking about some data centers that can provide us with some databases and data sets that are very useful, especially in this domain. And then we do what we call the data validation. So we need to make sure that these data are valid, that they are recent, updated, accurate, complete, and so on. Using many techniques, we can verify these data, and then we feed these data into the system. Once we feed it into the system, we make use of the algorithm. And algorithm here, we're talking about some, let's say, programs or problem-solving techniques that can make very good and deep analysis of these data, and then come up with some insights, some predictions. And with these predictions, the decision takers can plan for a better future, whether we're talking about investment or we're talking about any economic aspects.
Right. So if we're talking about investment, part of the prediction would be predicting the future investment trends. Exactly. Right? Can you give us an example of that? I mean, yeah, we can relate to it, but you will surely explain it to us better.
If we make use of the data analytics, then again we're talking about gathering data and then coming up with some like for example in the inflation, getting to know some data and some predictions related to inflation rates. This is kind of important in this area again. So whether we're talking about these or whether we're talking about having some virtual assistants that will help us to take a decision or to know better about a certain area. Or maybe we'll be talking about having some accurate reports. And here we're talking about another trend, which is the natural language processing. How we can develop some algorithm and some tools or some programs to make it a little bit simple. And then with these programs, we can have kind of a summary coming up from different reports, whether again internal or external. And with these reports, the decision takers can take appropriate and more suitable decisions. So it's all about having AI help us in some tasks that are usually requiring human intelligence and human expertise.
Something that I personally found very interesting is that when watching American sports, like American football or baseball, the very special American sports, I see that AI is really involved. Like they say that AI predicts that this team now has a chance 79% of winning and the other team say 21.
Yeah.
Or that this team now should take this decision and not that decision. But what's being applied usually, not usually, but in some cases, in a lot of cases, is against AI. Like they say that say in American football, the decision here is to go for fourth down. This is very specific now. Okay. Football, American football terms.
An interesting example.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So the AI says that you should go for a fourth down. But here you find the coach deciding not to go for it. He goes against AI, and he turns out to be right. Or wrong, whatever the case is. Okay. But what was very intriguing to me is two things. First of all, the expanding use of AI in sports, especially in American sports. The second thing is that the decision taker or maker doesn't always go with AI.
Exactly. Because here artificial intelligence acts as an expert. So sometimes you take the advice of an expert and sometimes you do not take it, you just ignore it. But in all cases you should be considering his or her advice. So that's what's going on now with the AI. Sometimes you rely on the results and on the predictions provided by the system. And by the way, most of the times it proves to be very beneficial. Because with AI, it's like having kind of a panel of experts giving you their recommendations.
The summary, yeah.
Yes,
the summary.
The recommendations. So you have the recommendations of many experts, not only one. So if you take it from that point of view, like with the group decision making, when you have a group of people taking decision, it is supposedly to be much better than one person taking the decision, because here you're relying on the expertise of many experts. And here it shows another point, because sometimes AI, the poor AI systems, are accused of taking wrong decisions. Whereas sometimes, as you just mentioned, the decision taker just ignores the AI advice.
Especially that the AI advice usually doesn't come like with a reliability of 80 or 90%. No, it usually goes in the cases I talked to you about, 55, 60, 65, not 80 or 90. So when you go against something that has a reliability of against 55 or 60% reliability, it makes sense. But if you go against a 90% plus reliability, then you know that would be a bit strange.
It's different based on the sector. So the example you mentioned, that's why I told you that that's a very.
It's a panel of it's as if this is the summary of or the group. A very nice comparison there. A group giving you an advice.
Exactly, but here we're talking about some human behavior. So whatever you will feed the system with, you should be considering the mood of the players, and you should be considering many human factors that can be very different. And that's why I think that in this specific example, the coach will be right.
Okay. I agree with you. Dr. Nevine, so back to the economy, although sports now has a lot to do with business. If we take the example of, for instance, a quantitative hedge fund, how would a quantitative hedge fund use AI to make profits?
Okay. It's the same framework as we're using in any domain, in any sector. It all relies on being able to gather good internal and external data. And then you can make use of the suitable AI technologies, because here we're talking about different technologies, like for example when you talk about machine learning, and by machine learning we're talking about some algorithms or some programs that are able to learn from their own experience. And other times we're making use of the Gen AI, the generative AI. With generative AI, you do not only do analytics, but you can come up with some new ideas, more creative, that can act as solutions for the current problems. So it all depends on the technologies and on the data that will be fed into the system.
And I guess that in the end, the decision maker is the decision maker. He could rely on this or go against it.
Unless the system is fully automated. And in this case, you as a human, you allow the system to take the decision.
But should we do this?
In some cases, yes.
Okay.
But after making sure that the system is very well trained, or else it will be a disaster.
Right. Okay. There's something called time series analysis. Could you talk to us about that and how this is also important in the field of business as far as the use of AI is concerned? Time series analysis.
When you talk about analytics, we either make use of statistical methods, such as the time series analysis, or we go for pure AI and smart technologies, like, for example, making use of what we call artificial neural networks. So here we're talking about the tools and the models that will be used in order to be able to analyze the data and come up with some insights. Either we do it statistical, sometimes we do a comparison. So we apply some statistical methods and other smart methods, if I may say, and then we compare and we say that in this specific example, that, for example, the statistical methods will be more accurate, will be more efficient, will provide better results. It all depends on the sector here.
Okay. Something that I think will be very crucial, critical, and interesting as well is the use of AI in predicting stock market movements. And just the question is, how far can we rely on this? Because we know that a lot of unexpected things can happen and surprises can happen, and there are so many factors that will be generated after we take the decision. How much can we rely on this really when it comes, say, to stock market?
You can rely on the stock market prediction and applications because that's a perfect example to apply AI for.
Okay.
Because it has many factors.
Unless something major happens. Unless something major happens on the day we are making that transaction.
Yeah, but usually that's not the case. But it all depends, again, on feeding the system with good data that is not biased and that is accurate, especially when you talk about stock market.
Okay, so if we all do this, we all know that in the stock market there are winners and losers.
Definitely.
I mean, so if we all investors, big, small, rely on AI and AI gives them naturally the same advice, what would happen?
That's a tough question because some people rely on AI and other people rely on their, let's say, their
instinct. Yeah.
Okay, for them they say no, even when the AI say, for example, that you should buy, you should go for a certain
just
decision.
Like the coach we talked about.
Yeah. But here you talk about money more than the coach, I think. Yeah. So sometimes they
so you're telling us that this is not going to happen? Basically.
It will happen.
That we're going to see a majority of investors rely on AI predictions? So then AI could dictate the movement of markets?
It will.
Or those who feed AI with the information could at some stage dictate market movement. They can crash it if they want.
Tell you something. It will dictate. But here we're talking about prediction. And when you say prediction, you talk about uncertainty. You can never be certain 100%. That's the point. Another challenge here is the data. You can never have a 100% good data. This will never happen. And you're talking about the algorithms. Sometimes the algorithms are biased or are not accurate. That's why you can never have a 100% good system. You always have kind of an error, but it is, I mean, you can tolerate it.
Besides, I guess, there won't be just one AI source. I mean, there should be more than one AI, multiple AI sources.
Not one AI system, and you have some systems, especially when you talk about stock prediction, then here you're talking about maybe statistical methods, and then we have now, or we're relying now more on the AI methods. So you have different systems, different algorithms, and again, you're talking about uncertain conditions.
Yeah. I don't want to be tough on AI, sitting with an AI expert, but it seems...
Don't
I'm sure you will. But it seems AI failed in predicting the outcome of the US presidential elections. Nobody expected this big, huge gap. Everybody said, every expert said, and many of them relied on AI, that it's going to be very close. We don't know who's going to win, but it's going to be very close. In the end, it was not even, it was a whitewash. So defend AI here, please.
Again, we're talking about either biased data or biased algorithm, or dealing with social media and social networks. Because you know that with social networks, that we can really influence the opinions of people. That's why we have what we call the opinion mining and sentiment analysis. It's not a pure rational decision. Whenever you talk about election, we're talking about rational and emotional decision. And those leaders know very well how to play this game.
Yes, beautifully said, Dr. Nevine. So you're telling us that we should expect AI to be more accurate when it comes, say, to stock market movement than in elections.
Yes.
That shall remain as a trend.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely. Whenever you're talking about some emotional and some sentiment analysis, then it's...
Although in the stock market there are a lot of decisions based on fear, greed, sentiment.
Yes,
and emotions.
But here we're talking about different emotions. Maybe I can come up with some posts or a video or sometimes just an illustration or a photo, and then I can play this opinion mining and sentiment analysis, and I can come up with very different results. But I have to study the market, and the market here are the citizens, the mindset.
The most difficult thing to read.
Yes. How to motivate them, how to make them vote for a certain leader. And that's a game that is usually played by the social media and social networks. That's one of the main applications of AI here.
Especially that perhaps some people or a lot of people could, or the undecided voters at least, could change their mindset, in an hour or so.
Anyone can change his or her opinion.
With the slightest of
it can easily
reasons.
be done, especially using social networks nowadays. That's one of the main sources.
Dr. Nevine, providing strategic reports for investors is one of the tools that AI can use in trying to attract more foreign investment and direct investments. So how does AI prepare strategic reports?
It makes use of the generative AI. So here we're talking about tools that can kind of collect different reports and different patterns and different trends from the markets, and then it studies all of these reports. It summarizes the reports, and it can come up with some very useful results, again, in some written reports, and provide them to the decision takers. But here we're talking about the generative, not the machine learning and not the deep learning, the generative learning. Because with the generative AI, you can learn and you can come up with new ideas and new patterns and new advice. So here you don't only have an assistant, but sometimes you have a competitor.
Right. So, so we could have different reports from the same data.
Yes. It's like summarizing reports. Like, for example, when you're working on any subject, okay, and then you start doing some data collection, some surveys, you look for state-of-the-art of some tools, and you summarize all of these ideas into one report. You rely on that report, and then, for example, you have your episode now. Yes, that's what we usually do. I mean, we have to study the topic. So that's a way of studying the topic. But you have, for example, the ChatGPT helping you, bringing you many reports that maybe you cannot have when you just make use of a search engine. And it also helps you to summarize all of these reports.
So how, Dr. Nevine, or do you think that a lot of governments now use AI in decision making when it comes to investment, or does the private sector globally, I'm speaking globally first of all, who uses it more now?
Globally,
private firms, public firms, governments?
Okay, if we talk about governments globally, I think we have Singapore, we have Estonia, we have Dubai with their initiative of the Smart City Initiative. So we have different countries that are making use of AI for the data-driven decision-making in economics in general and in investment in particular.
And what about the governments here, say, in the Middle East?
The governments here are starting to apply this methodology, the data-driven, not only relying on their expertise like the coach, but also taking some patterns and insights into consideration whenever it comes to such important decisions.
Okay. And what about here in Egypt in specific? I mean, private sector, government?
We started here to apply the data-driven decision-making. We're starting with many projects. And in order to be able to do so, we had to start with the digital transformation. So now we have many digital services that are provided in various sectors. And then we started applying the AI in many domains and in many sectors, like for example in agriculture, in healthcare, in education. So we're starting to apply the same methodology. And the country here is, I think that we're doing a great job.
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
So, but there is, I guess, a lot of room for improvement and expansion.
Maybe adding more chatbots that can speak the colloquial Arabic and that can be able to provide more information to citizens. This will be very beneficial. Maybe like making use of artificial intelligence to fight corruption. Because whenever you automate tasks and you make these tasks simple and you make them very clear for the normal citizen, the average citizen, okay, not only the well-educated ones, because we're talking about all of the citizens, then I think that this will help to fight corruption.
Okay. What is robo-advisors? What is meant by robo-advisors?
Again, we're talking here about some systems that are providing advice in this specific area, and they're, again, making use of data that is provided from data centers, various data centers. We're talking here about international data centers, and they provide advice. But again, it's for the investor to take the decision.
Dr. Nevine, you experts in the field say that AI helps in improving risk management. Can you explain this to us?
Because the power of AI lies in the prediction, having some predictive patterns. So whenever you can predict the risk, then you will be able to avoid this risk. And in case that you cannot avoid it, because sometimes...
Or you want to take it maybe because there's a big reward in it.
Yes, or sometimes you're talking about external risks that you cannot help but face it. Then you will come up with a plan B. So with all of the stages required in the risk management process, you can have AI systems to help you. But the most important part is to predict that there will be a risk, there will be a problem that will happen. So whenever you can predict the risk, you can have some proactive, not reactive procedures.
So you're telling us, Dr. Nevine, that AI, if I understood you correctly, gives you plan B and plan C? And
yes, yes. It works on risk mitigation, not only prediction. So you can predict the risk, you can analyze the risk so that you can see the possibility of this risk and then the results, what will be the consequences, what will happen if this risk happens in reality. Because a risk, it's, again, you're talking uncertainty. You're not certain that it will happen. But if it happens, then you will be able to deal with it. So you take some proactive measures prior, and then you can avoid many of these risks.
I guess this field will be very important in climate change or in global warming, being proactive. And this has to do with business as well, by the way, where the economy is involved in everything.
It has an impact on business. So if you apply the same model, I think, in any sector, it will be very beneficial. But again, assuming that you will feed the system with the proper data, and that you will have a non-biased and a very accurate and suitable algorithm. These are the two main challenges for us, for all of us who are working in this domain.
Another big challenge, I guess, and I want to take from your words like a few minutes ago, when you talked about AI can help us in fighting corruption.
Yes.
I really cannot grasp it. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers can't, because fighting corruption, you're fighting the behavior of those who are masters in, you know, in taking advantage of any situation, any... and this is a human behavior. This is a behavior that comes from probably satanic thinking, corruption. How can AI fight corruption?
Okay, it all starts with the digital transformation. Because with digital transformation, you have the data digitized, and then you have the processes simplified, and you're being able to provide the services in a different manner. You provide digital services. So whenever you do not have human interaction, then you can not eliminate, but at least decrease the corruption, because there will not be any intervention, any human intervention. Like, for example, now if you go to some machines and then you start asking to have some documents. So you have automated systems, and these systems can be easily tracked. So in case there is any problem, the problem will be tracked. So when you talk about automation, not only AI, when you talk about automation, it has a very good impact, yes, on decreasing corruption. When you talk about AI, it's much better, because, for example, you will have a chatbot or maybe a virtual assistant helping you throughout the whole process. So again, you will not deal with humans. You will deal with the system. So the possibility of having any corruption will definitely decrease. And with these same systems, you can track whenever anything happens, and you can track the behavior. And by the way,
how can you do that? How can you track the?
It's very easy.
The behavior.
The systems. And you can predict if a certain employee, for example, will take advantage of his or her position with any citizen. You can predict.
Wow. Yeah. That's very, very interesting.
Predicting behavior. That's what we do with the data mining. Like, for example, when the social networks are predicting our behavior. For example, they know your interest, and then they provide you that. It has been, I mean, available maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And then I can predict what you will be interested in, and I can provide you with these
and it just pops up in your,
exactly,
on your mobile or laptop or whatever.
And then I can help you, or maybe I can push you to buy certain items. So I'm predicting your behavior. It's the same. Here I can predict.
But those who feed the system with data, I mean, they would be just like intelligence agents. I mean that's very sensitive. I mean,
it's
so I'm supposed,
yes.
I'm feeding the data about predicting the behavior of my, say, colleagues.
That's why it should be related to the government. It's not a system that a company will do, because you will not be able to collect these data about the people. It has to be coming from some formal sources. And by the way, you can always use the same systems to fight violence. So you can predict if someone will turn violent against a certain person, and by interfering a little bit earlier, maybe it would be beneficial for the community.
Right, Dr. Nevine. Intelligent communication and interaction systems with investors. So how does AI exactly work here?
Here we're talking mainly about some chatbots, some virtual assistants that can come to assist and to help the person, the investor, throughout the whole process. helping him or her to get to know about the investment opportunities, about the related internal and external factors, about each and every decision that they can take and the pros and cons of the decisions, and helping them throughout the system till they take the proper or suitable or beneficial decision for them.
Okay. But if I am an American, if this is an American company, a firm, consulting firm, trying to interact with investors, I'm naturally going to tell them that the Chinese market is going to go down, housing market in China is going down, Russia is no place to invest even if they have all this oil and all of this energy. If I'm a Russian company, it's normal to say I'm good, China is good, but not America, and so on. So
no, the system should be able to rely on different and various sources of data, or else, that was the point I'm still focusing on, the biased data. If you feed the system with biased data, then you will definitely come up to have a biased decision.
And I guess that if I'm this country that wants to draw investments, then I should have very good relations with foreign firms that would talk good about me and give smart AI dependent data that would encourage investments where I am.
And you should have your own data centers. That's a very important point, because you cannot rely on data centers that are from another country that may be biased against you. Again, here we're talking investment. So you should have your own data centers that are credible.
Do we have this already a large scale here in Egypt, or do we still need to work more on that?
Definitely we need to improve, and that's normal.
That is related to what you call cloud computing? Or?
No, cloud computing is a different story. With cloud computing, you're talking about some resources that can be available on a cloud, so it's not on site. Like, for example, if you rent a place and then you put all your files there, so you do not have your files at home, you do have them on another site. So here we're talking about some resources, whether we're talking storage, or sometimes we talk about software. We'll be using software that is not in-house again. So it's only the facilities or the requirements to do any system.
And Dr. Nevine, maybe it's easy to understand for a change something, and that's how AI can be a tool to enhance transparency. Can you talk to us about this file in more detail?
Okay. It's a very useful tool to enhance transparency, because once you automate the tasks and then you provide an assistant to simplify these tasks and to be able to explain these tasks to anyone who needs to know more about the tasks, the procedures, to do any transaction, then definitely you have more transparency. And with AI, whenever it takes a decision, it has to justify why it took it. So.
And of course, we also reduce bureaucracy, we reduce cost as well when we depend on AI for investment.
You have one system, one virtual assistant that can help many people, and that is available 24/7. So you do not hire people and then you have different shifts and then you have to provide them with different facilities. No, you only develop one system, and this system is smart enough to develop itself and to learn from its own experience. That's another good point about the AI systems.
So AI develops itself. And what's good for today and seems to be very reliable might not be a year or two from now.
Definitely. But it's good that they learn from experience. You allow these systems, starting with the machine learning, we provided some algorithm to allow the system to learn from its own experience and to adapt.
Okay. So say that this person of interest was, and I say this because of course the most famous movie or series about AI is person of interest. Say if the person of interest was very updated and very talented in using AI 1 year ago, exactly 12 months ago, but he or she have not updated themselves with anything throughout the course of the past 12 months, where would they stand now?
They will have obsolete data and knowledge about AI. Because with AI, yes, with AI you have the trends and you have its speedy development. Like, for example, you have many new technologies.
So how fast do things change? Like every, what?
It's very fast. Maybe sometimes...
So if you're a year late, then...
That's too much. A year means 12 months, that's too much. No. With the AI now, we have every day a new trend, a new system, a new cooperation, a new application.
So you're more like the doctors, if they don't update themselves regularly.
Exactly. Especially with the generative AI, because generative is about generating new ideas. So now you have a system that is available 24/7 and that learns from its own experience and is never getting tired or does not have any problem. It's functioning all the time. So can you imagine how much experience it will gain?
Usually those who are very successful in this field, AI, are originally what? Engineers? Or might come from different sectors and they are masters in their own sectors and then they resorted to AI to help them. I mean, who are usually the most brilliant in the field?
Actually, with AI is different. We had many prerequisites, like, for example, discrete mathematics. That was one of the prerequisites. I think with physics. People who are good in physics and in math, especially discrete mathematics, this will make things easier for them if they are involved in the algorithms. Because now with the algorithms and the codes, I don't know if you're aware of these trends, but now we're...
I heard about them.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about the algorithm. I mean, now we're going from what we call the low code or no code. So now it's not about being able to write a program or develop a program. Because now, again, with the generative AI, the ChatGPT is very good at writing programs. So there are many applications. It all depends. Like, for example, you need an engineer if you're talking about designing a robot. But if you're talking about applying AI in healthcare, then it's different. And here we're talking about interdisciplinary applications. So it all depends about which applications are you focusing on. We have many applications, not only one, because sometimes people think that AI is robotics. No, robotics is just one of the applications.
It's an amazing world. Dear viewers, unfortunately our time is up. We hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have here. On behalf of you, we thank very much our dear guest, Dr. Nevine Makram Labib, the chair of the Computer and Information Systems Department at Sadat Academy. Always a great pleasure to have you with us, Dr. Nevine.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
Thank you very much. Thank you, dear viewers, for watching us. Please stay with Nile TV.